This is a lesson from my free method book, which you can get off of thisisclassicalguitar.com, and it's a free PDF download. There's no sign up required and no payment. It's just a free PDF. It's 80 pages long, so please enjoy that. And this is an easy version of Leyenda, which is on page 46, or Asturias by Albanese. But it's an easy version for beginners. And in this point in the book, the students have just gone over two-voice playing with the Swan. That's melody in the top voice. And then in this piece, this Leyenda, this mini Leyenda, is melody in the bass voice. So, right? And then with the upper voice. So, and then the piece afterwards is Siciliano, which is again a melody, melody in the top voice. So melody in the top voice, melody in the bottom voice, melody in the top voice, and all of them are two-voice textures. So there's more than one voice being used in the music at once. So in this piece on page 46, it's a two-voice piece, but I've written it as one voice because it's just a little bit more simple to look at that way, and also because of the nature of this piece. The upper line, the accompaniment voice with the M finger, is just an E over and over. So it's such an unimportant voice in terms of the fact that it just stays static, that I've just written it as one voice texture here. So the main thing here is to make sure that your thumb voice is nice and legato. So if you play it without that upper E, you can just practice connecting that voice. So just be careful of choppy playing or something that's not legato, like you don't want to do, anything choppy, just nice and smooth. You might want to do a little bit of a crescendo and then decrescendo. Just a little bit of shaping there. Lots of repetition in this piece, so it's a real easy piece to remember. You have the first phrase, then a repeat, then another repeat, and this part, back to that previous phrase. And then all the way down. When you get to this part, this is the end of the third line. Just make sure that in the Swan we talked about when you play across two strings, sometimes you need to use two different fingers so that you don't have a hiccup when you switch strings. Same thing in this piece. If we play an E and then a B, let's use two different fingers. So if you've been learning like, I always play B with my second finger, that's a good habit at first, but sometimes you're going to have to break that rule in order to make it sound legato. Because if you use the second finger both times, as soon as you take your finger off, it kind of stops the sound. So use your first finger on the B when you get to that part. And right afterwards, there's another B that happens in the second bar of the fourth line, but it doesn't have an E next to it, not the E on the fourth string anyway, so that you can use your second finger on that note again. So you're just using your first finger on B for that exception to make sure that it's legato. So last two bars of the third line. At the end, a little bit of slowing down at the end to bring it to a close. Students generally love playing this piece because it's very repetitive, and it's also kind of an easy piece to just like get the melody out with the thumb. So go slow at first, focus on shaping and legato. Maybe later you'll go a little bit faster. The only other piece of advice that I would say is just make sure the top voice doesn't come out too much, right? Because no one really needs to hear. They don't need to hear repeated E's over and over and over. Just want a nice legato thumb line in there. And then the top voice is just kind of just in the mix, so to speak, but not prominent in any way. So feel free to download the whole 80-page book, but this was page 47, and the next one we'll do is Siciliano by Carcassi, which is melody in the top voice, but again, a two-voice texture. Thanks very much.